Okay, we have 11 participants. So shall we start? I think others will join again. Okay, so we were here. काय बघितलं आपण? Velocity is equal to the charge on the particle. Okay, charge on the particle itself means the atomic number. Okay, atomic number multiplied by the charge on the electron, isn't it? Therefore, we have written here ZE into E. So this term actually is similar to QE, which was written here. Okay, charge on the particle multiplied by the electric field, right? And then divided by, instead of writing this term frictional force, we are adding this term, which is 6 pi eta A. Okay, 6 pi eta A is nothing but the frictional force. हा कुठून आला? 6 pi is a constant. हा constant कशावर अवलंबून आहे? The constant depends, itself depends upon the characteristics of the molecule which we are going to separate, and it also depends upon the characteristics of the buffer system or the gel in which we are running the electrophoresis. What is this term eta? Eta कोणाला?
It's a kind of coefficient.
पण काय आहे ते म्हणजे? What does it stand for? Eta stands for the viscosity of the medium. Okay, viscosity. आणि A काय आहे? A term stands for the atomic radius. Atomic असेल किंवा molecule असेल किंवा particle असेल, whatever it is, whatever sample components we are going to separate. Okay, the term A represents the size of that particular component. Is it okay? Then the counter ions in the electrolyte. What are counter ions? All the other types of ions, they may be cations or anions, which are present in the buffer itself. Buffer म्हणजे कोणतं? The buffer in which we are running the electrophoresis. तुम्हाला हे माहिती झालं असेल की although we are using a gel in the electrophoresis, we also require the liquid buffer. Okay, because the buffer is the one which is going to carry the charges during electrophoresis. Okay, so all these counter ions which are present in the buffer itself, these are also responsible for altering the charges on the particles, isn't it? They may have a masking effect. Masking चा अर्थ काय? Masking म्हणजे shielding करतात ते. Shielding. Okay, so for example, if our particle, if our sample component is negatively charged, then the negatively charged particle will be masked by the positively charged ions which are present in the buffer. That is called masking effect. These positively charged ions which are masking the particle will probably hinder the flow of the particle, the movement of the particle. Okay. And therefore, instead of using this term mu, that is electrophoretic mobility, we can use the term, modified term, which is called K, okay, factor K. This is called as the screening function, right? So electrophoretic mobility now becomes ZE multiplied by K. What is ZEK? Z is the charge on the particle. Small e is the charge on the electron. Z is the atomic number. And E is the charge on the electron. So together Z and E means the charge on the particle, that is Q. And instead of writing the term E, we are writing the term K here. K stands for the screening factor, screening function. And then divided by the frictional force again, that is 6 pi eta A. Right? In other words, the mobility will increase with what? With the charge on the particle. Numerator side जे आहे ZE multiplied by K, the numerator side should increase and the denominator side should decrease. Isn't it? So if the frictional force is less, the particle will move faster. And if the charge on the particle is more, then also the particle will move faster. Okay, now let us come to this important point, that is the drawback of zone electrophoresis. What is the drawback? The components which are present in the mixture and having similar mobility, they cannot be separated. Similar mobility म्हणजे काय? हे सगळे factors. Okay, charge on the molecule,
Similar charge.
frictional coefficient or frictional force, all the factors, if they are similar, then these particles cannot be separated in zone electrophoresis. म्हणून मग आपण काय करतो की झोन इलेक्ट्रोफोरेसिस इज कंबाइंड विथ मॉलिक्युलर एक्सक्लुजन इफेक्ट, दॅट इज द सिविंग इफेक्ट, राइट? The gel actually is helping us to separate the particles on the basis of the size, not just the charge. ही जे ब्ल्यू कलर मध्ये मी दिलेले आहे, दॅट इज द टर्म हाय रेझोल्युशन. व्हॉट इज हाय रेझोल्युशन? हाय रेझोल्युशन सेपरेशनचा अर्थ असा होतो की particles which are very similar to each other can still be separated using zone electrophoresis. Okay, preferably if we are using a gel. म्हणजे जेल इलेक्ट्रोफोरेसिस आपण कशासाठी वापरतो? तर in order to attain better separation between the particles which are closely related, okay, which are similar to each other, right? Now this method can be used for the separation of proteins, it can be used for separation of nucleic acids, and it can also be used for separating other types of chemical compounds. What are the gels that we can use? There are at least 3 different types of gels. For example, starch gel we can use agarose gel, and we can also use polyacrylamide gel. Then we can perform the electrophoresis in 2 different formats. One is called as the horizontal format and the other is called as vertical type of electrophoresis. याचा तुम्ही कधी अभ्यास केला आहे का पूर्वी? हॉरिझॉन्टल आणि वर्टिकल? Yes, how many of you know?
हॉरिजेंटल तो जिसमें हम वो वेल बना के नॉर्मली यूज करते हैं, वर्टिकल वाला यूज नहीं.
वर्टिकल वाला मालूम है आपको?
नहीं सर.
नहीं सर. Okay, vertical, I think maybe you are not very well aware. लेकिन हाँ, yes. Anybody wants to say something? Anyway, so आपण हे सगळे बघणार आहे. We are going to study horizontal electrophoresis. We are going to study vertical electrophoresis. We are going to understand how agarose is used, polyacrylamide, as well as how starch gels are used for electrophoresis. पण त्याच्या अगोदर आपण काय बघणार आहे? We will see the advantages also. Okay, advantage याच्यामध्ये सगळ्यात इम्पॉर्टंट असा आहे की we can process several samples together at the same time, simultaneously. ते कसं? Because in the same gel, in the same piece of gel, we can have different wells. Well number 1, 2, 3, 4. आठवतंय का तुम्हाला हे कधी जेल बघितल्याचं? कमीत कमी तुम्ही बघितलं असेल की 8 वेल्स एकाच जेलमध्ये असू शकतात. ओके
जी सर.
and therefore we can process 8 samples at the same time. Okay, what is the advantage of this?
सर 8 डिफरेंट सैंपल को हम साइमल्टेनियसली रन कर पाएंगे उसमें.
Yes, अंडर मेन इसमें इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेटमेंट तुमको ये करना है कि अंडर द सेम कंडीशंस, ओके, 8 samples can be run on under the same conditions together. बराबर है कि नहीं? उतना ही समय वो जेल भी सेम रहेगा, बफर भी सेम रहेगा, एनवायरमेंटल कंडीशंस, उसका जो वोल्टेज वो भी सेम रहेगा, करंट भी सेम रहेगा, और जो भी इतर जो सेवरल अदर पैरामीटर्स जो भी तुमको बोलना है, वो सारे पैरामीटर्स 8 सैंपल के लिए सेम रहेंगे, समान रहेंगे. And therefore you can compare the samples properly. Comparison is possible. Now can you compare this technique with free electrophoresis जो हमने पहले देखा था?
सर उसमें तो एक ही डाल पाएंगे, एक ही का डिफरेंट बाउंड्रीज आएंगे, डिफरेंट.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल एकदम करेक्ट है. हाँ, तो मूविंग बाउंड्री इलेक्ट्रोफोरेसिस में हमने ये देखा था कि वन सेम सैंपल इज पुट, वन सिंगल सैंपल इज पुट इन द यूट्यूब. ओके, एक से ज्यादा सैंपल हम उसमें नहीं ऐड कर पा रहे थे. एंड देयरफॉर व्हाटएवर सेपरेशन ऑफ द कंपोनेंट्स इज हैपनिंग, डिफरेंट बाउंड्रीज यू आर गेटिंग, that these different boundaries are from the same sample, right? अगर तुमको दूसरा सैंपल डालना है तो क्या करना पड़ेगा? दूसरा सैंपल डालना है तो
We
फ्री
have to take a
इलेक्ट्रोफोरेसिस में,
separate YouTube.
हाँ, यू हैव टू यूज अ सेपरेट यूट्यूब. ओके, और अगर सेपरेट यूट्यूब लिया तो कंडीशंस बदल गए, है ना. कितना भी तुमने
जी.
कितनी भी कोशिश की तो 2 यूट्यूब में या 10 अगर यूट्यूब तुमने लिया या 8 यूट्यूब अगर लिए तो 8 यूट्यूब में सारे कंडीशन सेम रहेंगे क्या? नहीं रहेंगे.
नहीं.
नहीं
No.
रहेंगे. And therefore you cannot compare between 2 different samples at the same time.
Yes.
है ना. ठीक है, थोड़ी आइडिया तुमको आ जाएंगे कि एक सैंपल में 4 कंपोनेंट है, दूसरे सैंपल में 5 कंपोनेंट है. इतना कंपैरिजन तुम कर सकते हो, but you cannot actually compare the 2 samples because the conditions are different. But in gel electrophoresis, the advantage is that because in the gel you have different wells in the same gel, okay, you can put different samples in the different wells and you can analyze different samples simultaneously, right? Okay.
Yes.
तो अभी हम क्या करेंगे कि इलेक्ट्रोफोरेसिस का जो सेटअप का पार्ट है, दिस वी विल ट्राई टू लर्न इन टुमारोज लेक्चर. इज इट ओके?
Okay, sir.
क्योंकि ऑलरेडी मेरे ख्याल से ऑलमोस्ट 3 घंटे ना, 3 घंटे तुम इधर हो. 11:30 से 11:40 से हम थे ना, तो
जी.
2 घंटे से थोड़ा ज्यादा हुआ है, isn't it? So I think that we should take a break now and we will meet tomorrow. तो कल का जो अपना ये है लिंक है वो मैं आपको ग्रुप में भेजूंगा, राइट? तो सब स्टूडेंट्स इसको ध्यान दे. Okay, I'm going to put the link on the group. I'm not going to give the link individually to each one of you. Is it okay?
Yes.
sir.
In the
Yes, sir.
first and second lectures, I think I have given individual link to everybody on WhatsApp.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
तो अभी वैसा नहीं है. I'm going to put the link for everybody together on the group. Okay. तो जो भी अपना communication है, that communication will be through the group only. I won't be interacting with you individually. है ना. क्योंकि इंडिविजुअल कम्युनिकेशन के प्रॉब्लम होते हैं थोड़ा, क्योंकि सबको वो इंफॉर्मेशन एक साथ जाती नहीं है. देयर विल बी सम प्रॉब्लम, इजंट इट?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
ओके, नाउ अभी 1-2 मिनट हम
Okay.
सिर्फ देंगे. डू यू हैव एनी डाउट्स विद टुडेज प्रेजेंटेशन, टुडेज लेक्चर? हाँ,
नहीं sir.
okay, shall we sum up? Huh? Shall we revise what we have done? We started with this slide, zone electrophoresis.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we tried to ask the question why we should use a gel or why we should go for zone electrophoresis. Okay, then somebody gave me a very nice answer, that is to prevent the diffusion. मेरे ख्याल से इनामुल ने दिया था क्या आंसर?
जी sir.
It prevents the diffusion of the sample components once we stop the electrophoresis. Okay, then it also allows us to visualize the bands properly. And the third important advantage is that it allows us to recover the sample components which are already purified. Okay, fourth advantage could be because of the sieving effect, we have 2 different phenomena occurring together. One is the size based separation and other is the charge based separation together. And therefore the resolution obtained with zone electrophoresis is much better than free electrophoresis, right? Then we have seen this mathematical relation of electrophoretic mobility, and we have seen how the frictional force affects the mobility. Okay, so that is a problem with the gel. This problem was probably very less in case of the free electrophoresis. किसी का फोन आ रहा है, I'll cut the phone. Okay, then we have also seen the drawback of zone electrophoresis. What is the drawback? If there are particles having the similar properties, similar size and shape, or similar charge distribution, then these particles cannot be separated in zone electrophoresis. Okay. And then we have seen that the different types of gels can be used. Starch gel, agarose gel, and polyacrylamide gel can be used. And we have 2 important formats of electrophoresis. One is called as the horizontal format, and the other is the vertical gel.
Vertical.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then most importantly, we have seen the advantage of zone electrophoresis. Several samples can be simultaneously analyzed, or several samples can be simultaneously used for separation of the components. Okay. And here we
Same
have the
condition.
same kind of condition, or uniform conditions are applied on all the samples together. Right. So today we'll stop here. किसी को question है?
No, sir.
Yes.
Nice.
No question?
Nice.
Okay. Then shall we end the meeting?
Sir.
Yes. Yes.
सर मी आता सांगितलं की झोन इलेक्ट्रोफोरेसिस मध्ये जर प्रॉपर्टी सेम असतील तर आपण यूज नाही करू
हो. बरोबर.
आपण यूज करू शकतो का
काय काय?
मुव्हिंग बॉन्ड इलेक्ट्रोफोरेसिस
त्या केसमध्ये
हा
नाही, मुव्हिंग बाउंड्री मध्ये तोच प्रॉब्लेम येणार आहे.
हो
है ना, कारण बेसिकली दोन्हीचं जे प्रिन्सिपल आहे की इट डिपेंड्स अपॉन द चार्ज डिस्ट्रीब्युशन ऑन द मॉलिक्यूल. ओके. फक्त झोन इलेक्ट्रोफोरेसिस मध्ये ऍडिशनल बेनिफिट आपल्याला असा होता की साईज बेस्ड पण सेपरेशन होतं, त्यामुळे थोडासा ऍडव्हान्टेज होता आपल्याला. साईज बेस्ड तर तिकडे पण होते, तसं पाहायला गेलं तर मुव्हिंग बाउंड्री मध्ये पण साईज बेस्ड सेपरेशन होते, परंतु तिथे सिविंग इफेक्ट नव्हता. इथे सिविंग इफेक्ट आहे, आणि सिविंग इफेक्टमुळे काय होतं की रिझोल्युशन ऑफ द सेपरेशन इज मोर. ओके, वी गेट मोर रेझोल्युशन इन झोन इलेक्ट्रोफोरेसिस. हा त्याचा ऍडव्हान्टेज आहे. But the drawback here is that even if there are sample molecules which are very, very similar to each other, then we cannot separate them merely by zone electrophoresis, simple zone electrophoresis. मग आपल्याला काय करता येईल अशा केसमध्ये? तर we can use different techniques which are a part of electrophoretic techniques. ऍक्च्युली आपला पर्पज हाच आहे की हे जे आपला सिलेबस दिलेला आहे त्यांनी इलेक्ट्रोफोरेसिसचा, याच्यामध्ये वेगळे वेगळे डिफरंट टाइप्स ऑफ टेक्निक्स आर देअर. Okay, so we shall try to understand different techniques which can help us to resolve the sample components if they have similar type of properties. Is it okay?
येस
अजून कोणाला काही आहे क्वेश्चन? If there are no questions, then I will end the meeting. Okay, so goodbye. Okay, and let us meet tomorrow again.
Thank you, sir.
ओके सर